I was in America with Auckland and they fired me. So I had to come home with 3 bass guitars and a suitcase, which wasn't easy, believe me. No sky caps in them days. And I got home and I went to see my manager to make sure the money was going to keep coming in, and he said, no, it isn't, unless you form your own band. So I was going to call it Bastard for about 5 minutes, but then he pointed out we probably wouldn't get on top of the pops with that. And I felt he was probably right, you know. So I called it after the last song I wrote for Auckland, Motorhead. You know. Pretty good name for us, you know, slang for Speed Freak.
What are you waiting for? What do you think you were created for? So I should care.
To be honest, I didn't really know who he was, because I never liked Auckland, and so I didn't really know who he was. He was just like Lemmy, you know, and everybody kind of like sucked up to him, went and got him change, you know, when he was standing. So he'd stand at the machine, you know, and get some change, man, will you? So nobody else would win all the money he'd put in there, you know. And I was one of the people who would say, fuck you, get your own fucking change. So we didn't really get on that well at first, you know, and but later on we did. It sort of became like a two-headed monster almost.
He came round to our house to buy some drugs or some sort, I don't know, and then he got arrested for OD'd on Tuinol, you know, which was like counter to productive, you know. But then he started hanging about, and he kept saying I'm a drummer as well, you know what I mean? And I didn't believe him, but he had drums, so I thought, well, maybe he's dabbled a bit, you know.
So he said, you're a drummer, right? And you've got a car. Of course, much later on I found out that he was only really interested in the car, you know, getting a ride back. Because he'd run out of supplies, medical supplies, and his ride had let him down to get back. So it was a Friday night, a weekend, you know, he offered to pay for the petrol, gasoline for the Americans. So I thought, yeah, all right, I'll come down and yeah, all right, I'll give you a ride down there. And he said, why don't you throw your drum kit in there as well while you're at it? I said, what for? Well, it so happens that we're thinking of getting rid of our drummer.
So I took him with me in his car with no windshield. So I pulled this bird with a huge fur coat, and she sat in my lap all the way. It was great.
Oh, lies.
And the fucking drive shaft dropped out of his car about 3/4 of the way there.
On the way back?
No, on the way there as well. Then you got it repaired, then it fell out again on the way back.
Anyway, there was a windshield in it.
No, there wasn't.
The heater wasn't working.
There was no windshield in it, you cunt.
So that's how that happened, and it was like, I went in the studio and I actually got on Lucas's kit because it was already set up and everything, you know. And they played the fucking, they didn't even play live, you know. They just told me, and I sat behind the drum kit, put the cans on, and they just played the backing track without the drums on it, lazy bastards. Because this was their way of auditioning me, see.
He fell overdubbed all the drums on that first album, which is really difficult to do, like, and he did a very good job, except Lost Johnny, I think it was, which was still Lucas.
I'd never even been in a studio at all, you know, so I was like, wow, this is fucking great, you know. Wow, did the drums really sound like this? Fantastic. So when you're feeling like that, you know, it makes you feel so much better.
He went in the studio and started playing, and Larry said, Lemmy, what a little cunt, he's perfect.
After I played a couple of numbers, I heard Larry's voice. They must have pressed the talkback mic. You know. Oh, yeah, man, what an horrible little cunt. Yeah, we got to have him. Something like that, anyway. So I was the horrible little cunt.
And then we sort of fucked around for another, wasn't it, 3 weeks or something. And then we were rehearsing in London, and Larry kept saying, get another guitar player, so he went and got Eddie, who was working on a houseboat with him, converting him.
We met past Eddie because I had a job working on building a houseboat, you know, just as a labourer, you know, in between doing other nefarious things. And Eddie was the foreman. What a fucking Hitler he was, you know. I used to love fucking, hey, oi, what you fucking doing? Get back to fucking work, you cunt. He'd be like this, you know, and this great long hair, you know what I mean? And he looked really mellow, but as soon as he opened his mouth, he was a mean son of a bitch.
I turned up at the boat at 9 o'clock, and Phil was already there working, and he says to me, man, I've been here since 6 o'clock. That's when I first really, you know, because we took a little bits of this and that, you know, in those days, but nothing on the level that Phil was doing it. And I quite admired that, you know, that he was so upfront about it, you know. He was obviously out of his head, you know, his eyes were out on stalks, you know, he'd obviously been up for God knows how many days. But it was fine, he was a hard worker and that's what I needed.
It was a Scottish friend of mine that said, hey, you know that he's a guitar player, don't you? I said, no. And then, for some reason, the Scottish guy who became my roadie later on said, well, why don't you get together with him, and have a blow, because he's really good.
And then he turned up at my flat and he told me that he joined this band Motorhead. And I thought, oh, because I'd read about them in the papers. Because I'd seen in a bit of paper that it said Motorhead, Lemmy's new band Motorhead, your lawn will die if you live next door to this, this thing and all that. And it caught my eye. So when Phil told me to join that band, it was like, oh man, it's a name band.
So Eddie came down and there was supposed to be 4 of us. Well, Eddie came down, but Larry never turned up.
I booked a rehearsal for the afternoon. I went and picked them up, all their gear and that in the car. I had this old Mercedes. It was only 50 quid worth, but we were all bombing down the road. And we got it all to this little room that was smaller than this. And we got it all in there. We're waiting for Larry. So it's about 3 in the afternoon. We're playing away, just jamming. We're having a bit of fun, actually. Well, Larry never showed. So they keep phoning Larry and say, Larry, where are you, man? You're supposed to be coming down. And he never showed, so they phoned him about 6 o'clock, said, look, the rehearsal's over. He said, well, I'm still coming, I'll come. So I booked another rehearsal upstairs.
We were playing all day. It was really going well. And Larry came in about 7 o'clock with his minder and his roadie, carrying his guitar for him. Played one song for about half an hour and then fucked off.
Yeah, on his own.
Yeah, on his own. So there you go,
It was a Saturday morning, I'm laying in bed in my flat. There's this banging on the fucking door. It's like, what? I thought the door was going to cave in. It's 8 in the morning. And I've only just gone to bed, so I jump up and I get to the door and there's Lemmy standing there. And he's got a leather jacket in one hand and a bullet belt in the other. And he hands them to me. Says, you got the job. And walks off. So it was fucking classic, man. So I'm there in my underpants, thinking fucking great, I was over the moon.
And it was great as a 3-piece, so it was also good as a hairpiece or codpiece. But we ended up as a 3-piece as opposed to a hairpiece or a codpiece or a timepiece. The end. Dun, 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 dun.
Phil Taylor screwing a bag of popcorn was one. Because you would never believe it, would you, Yeah, he dug a hole in it with a knife and screwed it.
That was an unsliced loaf.
No, it wasn't. It was a bag of popcorn. Do you think I can't tell the difference? I'm not at home buttering popcorn, you can't.
We were doing the marquee. Phil wanted to leave the band, as usual. Phil said, well man, if nothing comes of the band, we might as well break up after this. So the fucking marquee was going to be our last show. Well, me and Lemmy didn't have anything else to do. I couldn't think what Phil was going to do.
We were all too concerned with just everyday, day-to-day surviving, like dealing a bit of dough, to make some money to pay for the rehearsals or having a job on the side as well, like I did. Lemmy never had a job on the side, of course. Although they'll probably tell you, he was an expert carpenter. And
it was going to be our farewell gig. So I said, well look, let's get a mobile down at least to record the fucking year and a half we've been together and put something on the fucking tape, And so we said to Lemmy, we said, listen, you know this guy Ted Carroll, don't you? And he said, yeah. I said, well fucking phone him and ask him to send a mobile down and he can have the rights to the record. So he phoned Ted. And Ted said the problem with the marquee was they wanted 500 quid for doing a recording at the marquee. Well, that was out of the question in those days. So it was all looking a bit grim. Ted came up with this idea, and we were knocking about with Speedy Keen in them days. He'd just done Johnny Thunders, and I'd known him for years, Speedy. And he was hanging around with us, having a bit of fun. And Ted Carroll said, well, why don't you go down and make a single?
Well, Ted Carroll said he'd give us, 2 days in the studio to do a single, one side a day. So we went in there and we did, I think it was 11 tracks in one day.
We plugged in and we played the set because we were pretty good at the set. So we did the set straight off. And fuck me if it was, and we'd been up all night anyway, so it didn't matter. So when we got there, we started. So we laid the whole album down.
And then I came up to London, and you come back down to me, I think. And he was standing in the back of the room popping, Rockin' Ted, that's how he got the name. And then he said he'd give us enough time to put the vocals and that on it and the guitar, you know, because he liked the tracks.
He then put us in Olympic to finish off a couple of tracks because they wanted to remix Motorhead. It was a funny story, man. We've actually crashed out on the Saturday night because we're so fucking gone. Well, Speedy and John, they've stayed up all night mixing. And we've crashed out, I don't know, it must have been 1 or 2, 3 o'clock, something like that. And they're mixing Motorhead, the track Motorhead. Well, we woke up some 10 hours later, or 8 hours later, and they're still mixing it. And we go into the studio and there's a pile of boxes like that. They've done 36 mixes. And they've all got stars by them. Which one's the best? Because they're all gone on speed, see. Everybody's out their fucking head. So they got stars by them. And Lemmy will verify this was the funniest story in the world. And of course they couldn't remember. They said, well, this one's got 4 stars. But we think this one with the 3 stars is better. And this is in a pile like this. So that's why we had to go to Olympic and remix it. And the rest really is history. Ted put the record out and it did quite well. It got into the top 40, I think, maybe even top 30, I don't know.
He did very well for us, you know. He saved Motorhead. Without Ted Cowell, there literally wouldn't be a Motorhead because we were like going to resign.
Well,
I resigned.
Well, we've been digging and stuff and working like dogs, and nobody seemed to be. We had a following, but it didn't. Without getting a record deal, it didn't seem worth it. You know, we were still having to deal dope and living in squats.
Both of them came to every gig, like. You know.
Do you know when there's a drummer at the door? He doesn't know when to come in.
Very good.
We said to Phil, don't blow it, man. Don't punch the fucking producer. Don't throw a wobbler, kick your kit over and run out the door, because that's what he used to do. And the session would be gone. We got one day, you know, and Phil would blow it by fucking throwing a wobbler. I mean, I talk about me, but Phil was unfucking believable. A lot of fun as well, but this was serious. So we did the single, they brought it out, and there's this classic story of me. And they brought it out and it went into number 73, I think it got, or something. And fucking sure enough, we were on top of the pops. Which for us was unbelievably funny, you know. Top of the fucking pops, you know, you've gone from here to this weird place over here, you know. But of course, we weren't going to turn it down. Anything but as far as we could turn at that time. So we did Top of the Pops. And you do it on a Wednesday. On Thursday, I was doing with Jimmy O'Neill again, I was doing a bit of painting to get a few quid, you know, to eat. And I'm painting away and it's fucking 7 o'clock and I said to the people we work with, I said, listen, it's alright if I watch the fucking telly, I'm on in a minute. So I'm watching myself on Top of the Pops with a fucking paintbrush in one hand, you know, with the fucking overalls all covered in paint. And there I am on the telly playing Louis Louis. And then they said condescendingly, well, maybe we should do a few tracks, do an album. So Jerry gave us this really shitty deal, but it was a deal. We didn't care, we just wanted to make a record, you know. And we'd written a few more tracks by then as well. Because we'd done a John Peel show, and we did 4 tracks on there. We did White Line Fever, Keep Us on the Road. I don't think we did White Line Fever, but we did I'll Be Your Sister, which was one of our next tracks that we wrote. Then I think we did Damage Case. And we had practically Overkill was written. Because once we had a go, we were keen as mustard, you know what I mean? They were just flowing out. It was fantastic, all this pent up stuff. We could write songs like that. It was brilliant.
I always wanted to play two bass drums, but I always said to myself, no, I'm not gonna be one of these wankers who goes on stage, you know, and has 2 bass drums and never even fucking plays them. Not until I can play them. So I got this other bass drum, and I used to get to rehearsals a couple of hours before the other guys and just practice, you know, just sit there going, basically like running or something like that. And that's how the song Overkill came. I was actually doing that, playing that riff, you know, just trying to get my coordination right. When Eddie and Lemmy like walked in, and I was just about to stop, and they went, no, don't stop, keep going, and put the, and Lemmy came, and that was how Overkill got written. Me, Eddie, and Lemmy would play like as if it was a live gig, and once the drums were down, then they'd lose the bass and the guitar. So in other words, they could afford to make mistakes. I couldn't. I mean, there was on all of our stuff. There was never any overdubs on the drums. All the drums were all live. There was never any cheating done. Wish we could say the same for the bass and the guitar.
Well, we had, 32 tracks, I think, on Bomber, 16 on Overkill, I think. Whatever it was, we used them all, like there was fucking claves and shit on there.
24 of them were on the drum kit.
Nah. No, we just went in there and played it live. Overkill, we played them live. Oh, your tongue's gone a funny colour, Phil. Yeah, let me help you. There you go. This is a very good song, Phil.
I know.
Have you had it long?
I'm eating my own tongue. Yeah, I'll save you a chip.
I'm smoking my own shit. No thanks.
I remember seeing Phil Taylor trying to get out through a hotel revolving door, which took about 25 minutes, with his dark glasses on. That was funny. Talk about in through the outdoor. I mean, that was pretty wild. He tried to get out through his hotel bathroom mirror. He thought it was a window. He was so drunk he couldn't open the door, so he tried to get out through the mirror, and the police were called. And the hotel at the Park Sunset, opposite the Hyatt House. That was memorable. Very memorable indeed.
Oh, I see Phil needs to be milked. Somebody milk Phil, will they?
Jimmy Miller was one of them names that used to come up. Everybody go, oh, Jimmy Miller, So of course, we didn't realise quite what Jimmy had been through in his life. Because by the time we got him, he was a bit sort of used goods, But it was still kind of good.
He always wore this like long cardigan, with like handkerchiefs, with big boogers out, like old fashioned. And he'd come in and he had like, I'm sure one time he came and he still had house slippers on and it was snowing outside, And he looked as if somebody had magically lifted him up from in front of the TV and the fire at home and like transported him into the studio, and he'd get there and he'd come in, and he'd have his hands in his pockets and he'd sit down behind the desk and then he'd go.
He used to do things like, he'd go to the fucking bathroom, he'd gone for 3 hours. I mean, you couldn't find him. He said, well, where the fuck's he gone? It wasn't until afterwards we found out he was going in the ladies' bog and fucking having a bit of thingy and passing out for fucking 2 hours. We never thought to look in the ladies.
We used to think that we were bad at being late, but he would be like half a day or even more late, and his excuses were marvellous.
Like he'd fuck up and be 5 hours late, we'd all be sitting there going, bastard, and then he'd show up and he'd go, guys, you can't believe what happened.
I remember me and Lemmy saying, no, we're probably not, but we're dying to hear it.
It was snowing, because it was a winter, snowing, and the cab never showed up, so I had to call another one. That took another hour. And then we were on the way here and it ran out of gas.
And he's had to push it to the station, to the petrol station.
And then we got stuck in the snow, it was terrible. And he'd been outside rolling about in the snow look tragic, because we saw him doing it, out the window. It was fucking hopeless, but at least he invented a decent story, I give him for that. God rest him.
He was a lovely fella, though. He was a lovely fella. And I guess we owe him a lot, really, because I tell you what, Motorhead wouldn't have been an easy band to record. In fact, virtually impossible, Used to have rucks with old Lem, Because we got a producer and an engineer there, and they'd be working away. Then Lemmy would lean over and push the bass up. I mean, Phil would go, fucking hell, Lem, what's the point of having a fucking dog and barking yourself, We're paying all this money for a producer and you're interfering. It was really funny. We used to have some great rows. I had a couple of good fights in the studio too.
What's 12 inches long and white? Nothing.
What's 12 inches what?
12 inches long and white. Nothing. Ho ho ho.
I like the one about the
Oh.
I like the one about the Japanese guy. You know, the supplies.
Oh yeah. What do you do? I'm in supplies. Walking to the factory. Supplies. Vic was great. He was the first one to tell us we were all cunts and work harder, you know. Like, he had this very dry persona. Is that really the best shot you've got, you know? Like, to come out of
He said it
control.
like a fucking dormouse.
Yeah, right. You look like we used to call him the turtle because he looked like, you know. If you see photographs of him, you'll see why.
Even if he was angry, he would be angry like this. Don't, you're not supposed to do it like that, or stop that, boys, or, you know, I mean.
Bonner and Overkill both went in the charts, you know. We knew we couldn't fail then. It was on, like you say, a roll. I think it was a cream bun, actually.
Financially, it was going down because, you know, the more famous we seemed to get, the more we were working all the time, and we just never seemed to see any money, you know. But this was Doug Smith's, you know, this is how you know you're being ripped off, when they work you like dogs and hardly give you any time off, because, you know, when you've got a bit of time off, you might start thinking about things, you know. I'm sure that's the way he planned it.
Then the promoter comes in, he's going, everything all right, guys? And I think Lem just threw a fucking tree at him, at this promoter, and he goes, ah.
He kept lying to us about the distances involved in Norway, so we had to keep hiring boats to take us up the fields. It was fucking fortune. You know, so finally we got him.
We sorted out a pair of handcuffs, which all the crew have anyway, from previous engagements.
And then he was on the side of the stage. It was his hometown as well, Trondheim.
Oh, Trondheim.
Trondheim. And he was leaning on the PA, you know, and two of the roadies handcuffed him.
He's just on the side and he's ripped us off, and he's told us lies all fucking week. And he's there tapping away, he's got his wife and his 3 kids there, like, tapping away like that. I arranged it actually. It was Goom, the old drum tech. I said, Goom, now. And straight away, he's brought on stage, we had him handcuffed like this, and we had his fucking trousers pulled down to his ankles, and we sprayed in cream cheese like this. All of his family are there looking aghast. And Graham Mitchell was the tour manager at the time, and he's saying, this is the motherfucker which should charge you fucking so many fucking dollars for the show tonight, and I'll be late. This fucking cunt like this.
And he shuffled off, you know, little tiny dick like that.
Got a penis like a fucking, like a top of a fucking camera lens, you know, like that. And he's there, he's just flaccid as fuck.
And then he went and got in a taxi like it and went to the police station and brought the cops back.
And they arrested some of the crew, like myself, everything, handcuffed and the usual stuff. Well, what happened? We said, well, he fucking told us. He told us lies all through the tour, man. He was fucking ripping us off and telling us bullshit and whatever like that.
And then this huge fucking Norwegian copper came and he says, I think you have done something very terrible to this person. I said, yeah, well, he kept, you know, freaking. He said, yes. He said, yes. But this is no reason to cover a man with cheese. There's some weird English perversion, right? You know.
I've got like 3 original pictures of that at home. Superb.
I think we recorded Hammersmith, but there was fuck all to get used on it because it was no good. I never liked playing Hammersmith. It's a terrible fucking sound, you know, on stage. I don't know, you know, it was just like right place, right time, you know. Everybody was waiting for a live album from us because it had 3 studio albums that had been in the charts. So when it came out, it was almost automatic, you know. I didn't think it would go to #1, but I knew it would go in, like, obviously.
I think it summed up an era too. I think it summed up an era. I think the title was great. Motorhead had become like an icon of, you know, at that time Motorhead was becoming quite cool.
We were on the bus doing something, having a party. Oh, that's right. Yeah, because we had all the booze, from the gigs we'd done was on the bus, and nobody had any money left. We were all broke, so the bus was parked outside the front. So we got the keys off the driver. He'd had it fixed. We started up the Jenny and nice air conditioning and that, and then Graham Reynolds, Lemmy's road guitar tech, came bounding down from the hotel saying, he was the only one in there saying, "Here, chaps, I've just had a phone call from Doug Smith. Guess what? Your album's gone straight in at #1. And we all went, ha ha ha, that's really funny, Graham. And he went, no, really, straight up. And we didn't believe him, so we went back into the hotel and phoned the manager, and he told us it was true.
It was the most sickly fucking review I think I've ever read on the Melody Maker. It was, well, from being the worst band in the world in the Melody Maker, suddenly we're the fucking God's gift to music. Suddenly the sun shines out of our arse overnight. And I'm thinking, this is sick. How can one day we be cunts and the next day we're fucking, God's answer to the music bits, It was, I found that a bit over the top.
I think we actually got in the Guinness Book of Records for being the only heavy metal band to go straight into the British charts at #1.
There was another thing on the radio that happened. The guy played it in the morning. He's played Motorhead. He says, all right, he took us off halfway through and says, fucking hell, that's a bit much this time in the morning. They had so many complaints that he had to play it all the way through the next day.
I saw a great cartoon actually, two nails talking, right? And there's a nail head in the plank behind him. And this one says, I know, I was talking to him a minute ago, and then there was a loud bang and I turned around and he was gone. Fucking excellent.
We weren't ready to do another album. I don't care what anybody says. That album was forced upon us because Jerry needed the money for his record company. So he needed us to come up with some product. Well, they pushed and pushed and pushed. Well, we started to do some demo tracks with Vic Mail, who had done the Ace of Spades and the No Sleep album. God bless Vic. And Phil had a new drum kit. So we're in the studio, we've set up his drum kit, and Phil hates the fucking drum sound that Vic Mail's got him with his new kit. So Phil, because he's a bit weird at the moment, will not work with Vic Mail again. So we've got no fucking producer. We talked to Chris Tangaridis, he wanted £10,000 up front. This other guy, John Anthony, he wanted 20 grand. And of course that's where Doug Smith shot himself in the foot. He's only paying us £200 a week. When some cunt says he wants 10 grand to work on our album, that to us is a fucking king's ransom. You can fuck off, man. We're giving you 10 grand. You know what I mean? We didn't live in that world. Because Doug had kept us in this fucking we haven't got any money world. So this went on and on. We couldn't agree with anybody. And then one day Phil turned to me and said, listen Eddie, why don't you do it? And I said, man, I don't want to do it. I'm playing on the record. And he insisted, he said, no man, he said, the Tank record's good. He says, you can do it. He said, do it with Will Reed Dick, this guy. And I was I'll tell you, I swear to God, I was reluctant as fuck.
I was pissed off because we let Eddie produce it. And I wasn't at the time though, fair play. But it became obvious after it was released. I sort of sobered up and realised it was garbage, most of it. I mean, there were at least 3 songs on there that weren't even finished, We just finished them in the studio, and cobbled it together, and it just was a substandard album. But the trouble is, how do you follow a live album that went straight in at #1, There's nothing you can do. And then of course, true to type, we delivered a substandard fucking studio album to follow it.
It wasn't so much the album, I think it was the attitude the album was made, was what made it not good. For me, whenever I play it, I can feel it's not quite right. But not just the songs and that. The songs would have been better had we been working as a unit, But anyway, so the album, and then of course, the record company crying out for this record, got to have it, so we give it to them. We do this fucking album cover that we weren't happy with. Doug Smith come up with this idea. Doug wants to make a film, start a film company. So he makes a film to start the Iron Fist tour. So he's using us again to give himself a foothold in the film business. So we all wear these fucking helmets that he's had made and tromp about like cunts, you know, and look like idiots falling around and dressed in all this fucking gear with swords and shit. Anyway, joke as it was, yeah. So anyway, so that was that. And then Doug comes up with this great idea about the flying stage thing, which was a fucking nightmare.
We had the stage that came out of the ceiling with all the amps on it. That got stuck going back up, halfway back up in the Newcastle City Hall.
Didn't he get stuck at the beginning of the show once?
No, we come down all right and we got stuck going back up and it pulled the curtains open as well. We were all standing there going, what should we do now? Like,
So, that gig, you can imagine, Tank go out, they're crap. Don't know what's happened to them, they're crap. We come on, we're playing songs that the kids don't even know. They haven't got the fucking album, so we're crap. We got this stupid stage going up and fucking down, so we're crap again. It's not till the fucking encore, when we do Overkill, Bomber and Ace of Spades, that the kids come alive.
but it wasn't that drove the kids away from us, it was Brian Robertson drove the kids away.
Back to back, you see me now. Show me what you're hiding.
Making of Another Perfect Day was fucking torture. Brian took 17 hours doing a guitar track. It fucking took so long compared with the other albums. And then when it was released, everybody fucking hated it, so it was counterproductive, really.
The only problem with Brian being in Motorhead was the shorts. And literally, right, I mean, people will find this difficult to believe, but it was all down to the shorts.
I always thought it was a good record, but like, they just hated Brian. You know, because you don't replace a tall man with like very long red hair and like skinny legs and great hips with a fucking geezer who's dressed in green satin shorts and belly pumps, you know.
But don't you move.
He's a great guitar player and a great guy. I love him. Hello, Robbo. How you doing, you rat bag? And it was like he came over to join us at the drop of a hat, so to speak. It was my suggestion, you know, because I mean I didn't really know him that well, but I mean I always thought he was, you know, he's one of the best guitar players in the world. When we went out on tour, it was summertime in America, and like Brian was wearing these shorts, and he didn't give a fuck. I mean, you know, why should he? And actually on stage, in between numbers, he would look over at Robbo and he'd say to the audience, and as you can see, he's still wearing those fucking girly shorts or something like that. And Robbo would just go, fuck that.
I should introduce him as Brian Robinson.
Or Brian,
our new guitar, the Jewish guitarist Benny Rabinowitz.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. And he's wearing a nice little pair of shorts tonight, as you can probably all see.
Pretty
and of course, the audience were all like going, boo, boo. You know, in English-speaking countries, it was like, get rid of the shorts, fuck the shorts. And of course, I'd be going like, but it's not the short that counts, it's what's inside that matters. Unfortunately, in this instance, it wasn't true.
No, it was the shorts.
But it was just such a stubborn. I mean, because you know, he said to me, like, he said, I wouldn't have. He said, I would have stopped wearing the shorts if Lemmy had just stopped, you know, going on at me about it. The more he went on at me about it, the more I wore the shorts.
He was a fucking liar, man.
Yeah.
He was just intent on being Brian Robertson's super guest.
Yeah, but you ruffled his feathers.
Right. I'm sorry about that.
Oh no, that's all right. No, I wasn't.
He fucking ruffled me.
No, I was on your side. I was on your side. We just went about it in different ways, you know. And great guitar player.
And even later, when he was wearing them silly fucking trousers tied up with bits of towel, what the fuck was that?
Oh right, of course, yeah, because he did eventually kind of compromise, didn't he?
Kind of, yeah.
I forgot about that.
But I mean, you could have looked good on stage. You looked like a prat all the time, yeah.
Yeah.
I just sent in a cassette to the management company and stuff like that, blah blah blah, and then I just have written a couple of CDs, with a couple of singles did with Persian Risk, and then they asked me up for an audition. I came back from work one day and the wife said, "Oh Phil, you've had a call back from them Motorhead people. Can you learn 15 songs and 3 songs of your choice by Friday?" Like this is on like Tuesday or something. So I didn't have any Motorhead albums, so I phoned up my mate who I knew he had No Sleep Till Hammersmith, so I'll always be forever grateful for him for that. So I just went up and I can't remember when I was actually told to join.
I couldn't decide between them, they were both really good. And Phil was more like Brian and Russell was more like Eddie. So it seemed like a good idea at the time. And he left the day they were coming up to decide between them. Right, he left in the morning and I got up there. I was the only one in Motorhead for about 4 hours.
No, I like Wurzel and you like Phil Campbell, remember?
Yeah, I know, but then you left the morning they were going to shoot it out, right?
No.
Yeah.
Once we made the decision, then I left. Well, I didn't want to leave you in the lurch, you know. I didn't want to leave you in the lurch.
Lem took me and Wurs on the Marquee one night. Not the Marquee, the Samaritz Club in London, and he just left us alone. We knew we thought we had to battle it out the following day or whatever for the top spot, as it was called. And we actually did. I remember we actually did get talking. Me and Wurs saying, "Oh, maybe look at that. You could play this bit on the song, and I could play that, and that would be really cool. We'd have some rhythm guitar there, blasting rhythm along with a bass." And I think Lem picked up on this. We got on really, really well at the time. And the next thing we know, we're both in there. Like, I wanted to be a professional musician because I didn't want to have to wake up early every morning. I didn't want to have to wear a suit and tie every day, like, so it was really good. I was ecstatic, totally over the sausage I was.
Don't look in the mirror. What if I was right behind you, smiling like a killer? I'm the knocking at your door.
At the time, I just thought, I had a good talk to myself and thought, well, maybe it's about time I moved on, because I enjoyed playing with Robbo so much. Maybe I'll get a band together with him or something like that. I didn't really have a plan,
Like a killer. Killers in the house. Killers in the yard. Smile, smile, smile.
I think I just came up with it straight away when Filthy decided to go. I knew Pete because he used to be friends with a couple of people in Cardiff. So I'd met him a few times, and I knew he was a damn good drummer. I didn't know him really well, but he was a nice guy, and I knew he could play really good drums. So I suggested him to Lem, and believe it or not, Lem said, "Yeah, let's go," because Lem had already toured with Saxon, like a bomber tour. They'd done like 53 shows in 55 days or something like that. So Lem knew how good Pete was, and it was a lot of fun for 3 years.
Smile, smile, smile. Killers.
Pete Gill, an even-keeled guy. You want to try and see Pete Gill get on a top bunk. We used to give him the top bunk on purpose on the bus. Actually, he's like a helicopter. He was broken down helicopter, trying to get back up the Niagara Falls, trying to get on the top bunk, Pete Gill. I mean, even keel. If you call a guy on an aeroplane, as the stewardess is coming on to check the seatbelts, getting his cock out, and me having to cover it with my hand. If you call that even keel, I suppose, yeah, he is even keel. I didn't wash my hand for 3 days. I was in awe of Saxon at the time. It was a left hand. He was in an aisle seat. I was next to him. It was a very creative time. I mean, when Pete joined, he'd been out of playing professionally for a few years, and obviously mine and Wurzel's creative juices were flowing, and so were Lem's. We did the 4 tracks for No Remorse. I think it was Snaggletooth, Steal Your Face, Killed by Death. I think that was the third or the second song we wrote in No Miss. And what was the other one? And Locomotive, that's right, yeah. That's right, I remember me and Lem went to John Entwistle's house one day in Rickmansworth, and we played him Locomotive. And he said, "Bloody hell, man." He said, "You're a drummer." We said, all in one take? And we said, yeah, he did it all in one take. And John Entwistle couldn't believe it, like, so that was quite a compliment. But we for Orgasmatron, it was great. I think the production let us down on Orgasmatron. The songs were really good. We put a lot of effort into the songs. I mean, riding with the driver and stuff like that, and a lot of stuff. I just think the production let it down.
He really cocked it up, you know. I mean, the rough mixes on that album were great, and then he really cocked it up. Like, took it to New York and mixed it, and come back with this terrible mess. And he brought a case of champagne into the studio, and his manager was standing by the door, determinedly bopping. But it didn't work, you know. Slowly, Phil just pushed the champagne back onto the desk with his fucking foot. Yeah, another instance of the producer thinking he's the artist, you know.
It was like early hip hop type sounds and things, like when hip hop started, and it wasn't like taking a big shit after a curry, like, which it should have been. You know what I mean? It was like pecking at a packet of peanuts, like, which is not what we're at. I'll tell you exactly what happened why Pete Gill left. It was a total misunderstanding. This is 100%, I swear on my family's life, this is what happened. We were doing Eat the Rich recording somewhere, and me and Pete were somewhere, and we told him when the cab arrives, here we are, we're ready, just tell us when the cab arrives. We'd finished the day's recording for the movie Eat the Rich, and the next thing we know, well, Lem's outside screaming in a cab. So we go out, and Lem screaming at Pete, saying, "Oh wait, I've been sitting in this cab for 20 minutes, man. Where were you?" And we told 2 or 3 people, like, as soon as it is, and then Pete just started mouthing off at Lem, and they just burst up like that, and Pete just walked like that. Lem said, "Oh, fuck off," and Pete said, "Oh, fuck off," or whatever, and walked. And it was a total misunderstanding. That's exactly what happened. A cock up over a taxi, in true Motorhead style. The rock and roll recording, it was at Redwood Studios, somewhere in London. The first album with Filthy since he rejoined. We recorded it in 12 days. It was mixed in 11 days, and it's still, I like it. It's not a great album, but if you're close to it, there's things on it I like. There's a lot of good things I like, and so the studio manager was Andre Yakimin. If you look at any Monty Python things with scrolls with the music, it says music Andre Yakimin, and he heard us. We always talk Monty Python nonsense, like, in the studio. We're all big fans of Python. And he said, you know who owns this studio? He said, Redwood Studios. Michael Palin. And we go, what? Are you kidding us? He said, yeah, no, this is it. He owns all this. And we said, we're all big fans. Could you ask him to come down?
And when Michael Palin came, that was so funny. He was dressed in a cricket outfit.
30s cricket outfit, aye.
It was Sunday afternoon, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah. He was on his way to a local cricket match.
Sort of came bouncing in, you know, like with that.
Hello there, boys.
Hello, chaps. You're Motorhead, are you?
What sort of thing do you want to do today, then?
Yes, what sort of thing is it? And no, he wasn't, I don't think he was acting, was he? Right?
No, I think he's like that.
And
and I said, what about that, oh Lord? And he said, yes, some cathedral, please.
Yeah.
Put the echo
give me
chamber
some
on.
cathedral, yeah.
I've still got the outtakes of that.
Have you? Mm. And the trousers. Bless this thy holy Motorhead. So they may
get one of the pairs of trousers each.
At least one of the pair of trousers.
Oh Lord, thou hast seen the trouserless and had compassion.
Yeah.
Look down upon them.
In that.
It was fucking good, man. Welcome to the end of side 1 of this Motorhead record.
Yeah.
There's 2 prawns, one called Tom, one called Christian. They're swimming around in shark-infested waters one day, and Tom, he says, I'm fed up of being a prawn. He said, we could get eaten at any time. He said, I'd much rather be a great white. And as he said it, a shoal of mysterious cod swam past and said, your wish is granted. Straight away, Tom turned into a great white. He thought, oh, this is fantastic, look at that. Christian, his friend, he'd gone off to his house. They'd all scared. Obviously, a prawn scared of a great white. All the local prawn family and friends, they all scattered. So after 2 or 3 weeks now, Tom's swimming around and everything, and he's bored. He can't find nothing to play with or nothing. And he's thinking, oh God, I'd rather be a prawn. So he said, oh, I gotta find them cod. So he's looking around. After another week, he finds his cod, and he says, oh, I want to be a prawn. And like that, they swam past, and the wish is granted. All of a sudden, he's a prawn. So straight away, he goes straight up to Christian's house. He's banging on the door, and Christian says, fuck off. He says, no. He says, I found cod. I'm a prawn again, Christian.
1, 2, 3, 4.
I love the guy to this day. Phil was great. He sort of took us under his wing for a while, and we got signed to WTG, which was a subsidiary of Sony and Epic, and we recorded in 1916 with them, and like we all went to live over there for like 6 months. Lem and Filthy decided to stay. I don't think Filthy's been back since, actually. I don't think he can come back, but that was a good move. I mean, it made a whole new man out of Lem, you know. He'd rather be swanning down Sunset Boulevard, watching chicks in bikinis and walking around Portobello Market with it pissing down with rain, so... It took 10 years off Lem anyway. It was great.
1916 was very funny because we had this guy called Ed Stadium started out producing it. He was a very, very well-known producer and everything. And then we went in, we played one day, and then we went in the next day, and he was playing us the track back, and I said, "What's that in it?" And we pulled down all the tracks, and there was like triangles on it and claves and all kinds of weird percussion shit. And he must have been in the night before, in between, and put them on there, because they weren't put on while we were doing it the day before, right? So he must have come in after hours, because he said he's off home in his car. He must have drove back and done all this shit overnight, right? And we sussed him out and wiped him all off again. Very strange indeed. But there's some good tracks on that. That was really the Renaissance album from Motorhead in 1916. We were over here in America then, and it got great reviews, you know, which rock and roll didn't get. In 1916 got great reviews, and it said, and we also played that year the first gig at Hammersmith with the 4-piece lineup, which was also Phil's birthday, which was good, you know. And they went fucking crazy, you know, Hammersmith went nuts. So that was a good one, you know.
My departure?
Yeah.
Well, it's...
What time is your departure?
I'm not quite sure. Do you know what platform it is?
I hope the plane's here.
Yeah, seriously,
it's on
though,
time.
seriously though, when you left
Seriously.
We didn't leave, he was pushed.
When I left, or when I leapt? When I left the band, I was just
A mere boy,
a foolish,
a child,
trouserless,
working his way through college.
trouserless young man, smitten and bitten by wood nymphs and very small maggots.
It's not sooner.
They were eating away my wooden trousers.
Never mind what he said, it's true.
It was the hinges, you see,
Yeah.
the hinges on the knees of my wooden trousers. I got caught in the rain,
It atrophied.
and you see,
The atmosphere.
they'd rusted up so solidly, and Lem refused to lend me the oil can.
Yeah, it was
And
my
so
oil can.
I said, I'm gonna
get your own
leave.
fucking oil can, I said to him.
I said, if you don't give me all my wooden trousers, I'm going to leave. He said, how are you going to leave if you can't fucking bend your
If
knees?
you can't walk.
So I jumped, I hopped, I leapt like this.
You leapt. Yeah.
And so the oil
It's
can.
very limber, you know, it's very...
And those wooden trousers, you know what? They're still standing today in the corner where I left them.
He's still got them, yeah.
And they're still rusty, and you still won't give me that.
Real oak, weren't they?
No. Maple.
Maple.
Yeah. Cross ply.
Handy for the syrup.
No, not syrup. All right. You never got hold of my fucking...
Well, basically, when he left and he went and pinched my bird, and he was quite happy.
I did not pinch your bird.
I knew that.
She came round and fucking grabbed me.
I know. Mind you, I was better off in the end. You know she's moved back to LA, don't you?
Who?
Me.
Oh
no.
Well, I mean, I
she was looking for your number and I wouldn't give it. Aren't I a good guy?
Yes, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I'm going now because you're talking about the other man.
The other man, yeah, in my life. And we got.
I mean, there's no need to rub it in.
The first time we asked him, he said no because I'm going to join docking.
We better not talk about him too nicely.
No, I won't. Don't worry. Don't worry about it.
I'm going out because I don't want to start crying. I might hear something I don't want to. So I'll let you know when I've gone. All right. Okay.
Have you gone yet?
Hang on a minute, she's just putting her hand down the back of my trousers.
Okay.
All right.
Have you gone now?
Yes, I'm gone now.
Mickey was obviously a spectacular drummer, you know. I mean, he went and joined Dockham, which is kind of an aberration of some sort, you know. But he did 5 years with him, and then we asked him again, and I got him trapped in a corner downstairs here. So he fucking joined the band, so he joined.
I had two options. I had to either replace him or join the band. You know, I could not replace him and you know, to be I'm here instead of Filthy Animal Taylor, you know. I'm gonna, it's like an extra dad or something, you know what I mean, or mom. Because I had to join the band and do my shit. I had to change the band. I had to play differently, look differently, just be differently. Either I got accepted or I didn't, you know. I remember coming to London first time playing. A lot of people said, who is that fucking California fucking wanker Lem got in the band and poser? Fucking behind me, my hair was down to my ass, blonde, fucking, you know. I smelled good, you know. Which was a fucking, you know, difference to begin with.
People thought it was weird because, like, Dockham were more of a poser band and we were more of a non-poser band, sort of the opposite ends of the spectrum. He was blonde, we were dark hair. He wore aftershave, we didn't.
So I remember London. It was, man, if they could kill me, I would have been, you know. I was walking into Hammersmith and it was like, wow, these fuckers want to fucking kill me. But we did the show and the same people that looked really fucking angry at me before the show, they stood in line to shake my hand afterwards, you know.
The first tour he did was a big tour, actually. It was Operation Rock and Roll with Judas Priest headlining Cooper, good old Alice there, us, Dangerous Toys and Metal Church. I was like 6 weeks in big venues in the US. And it worked out great. And Mickey's been with us for 14 years since that, I think, yeah.
If I compare this stuff to King Diamond or Dawn or whatever I've been playing, this is the hardest shit you can do, really. I like my drums to, I mean, I explain it like this. I can overplay these songs. Very, very simple, easy. I can do drums all over these songs and show how damn good I am, you know, with a million fucking things. But that's not Motorhead. I'll destroy this music. I never want to do that. I like to keep it really straight and heavy. And when the shit gets there, it's supposed to taste good. You have to choose your moments. Less is a lot more in a band like this.
A couple of years ago, we went through 8 monitor guys and 13 gigs. Because, like, being a monitor guy with Motorhead is it'd be easy to reconcile the Russians with the Chinese or make box girder bridges, you know. So this one guy turned up. He had his suitcase, where's the new guy? He turns up at soundcheck on the stage with his case, introduced to us all. He says to Lemmy, now I think I've heard what the problem is. It's the 3.5 Ks down with the 15 kilohertz. But Lemmy said, he's fired. And the guy, we fired him on the spot like that, like too much fucking technical shit. Guy didn't even make the dressing room. He'd gone. Another guy we found making wedding invitations on his computer when he should have been taking down our feedback instead of welding us with a fucking feedback, so he went. It's like being president of fucking Philippines, man. Being a monitor guy with us. We've done many fine albums, but Bastards, I think Mickey and Lemmy in agreement with myself, it's the finest. I mean, we worked so fucking hard on that. The songs were there, the commitment was there, the playing was there, the production was there, everything was there. I mean, we put Howard Benson. He was in we gave him a nervous breakdown after 3 weeks, and he came on to do another 3 albums with us. I mean, that's fucking, how pussy is that? No, it's not pussy actually. Come to think of it, no, it's just hardcore. Howard was great, but yeah. We spent a lot of time on Bastards, and I'm so proud of that album. Nothing wrong with that album at all. Some great songs. I always feel we should have sold the song I'm the Man to Aerosmith. I can imagine Steve Tyler swinging around his Tourette's. Oh, no, not called Tourette's today, no. Sorry, Bastard! Oh, sorry, I've got this. Is it, I think Tourette's must be catching. I'm not quite sure.
Well, Wurzel left during Sacrifice, really. I mean, he left just after we'd finished it. And he only played one solo on the whole album, and he was gone already, really, before we started that album. His input was, like, very, minimal. It's a shame about Wurzel. He started to believe the wrong people. Because I was his best friend in the band and off stage, I was his best friend, and he didn't believe it anymore. He started accusing me of stealing his money and shit, I mean, I need Wurzel's money, I mean, I got all that money coming from Auckland before, and the Motorhead before him, I didn't need his fucking money, And I wouldn't have stolen it even if I did, It's not like me, but there you go, you make your choices, suffer the consequences, It
took him like 6 hours to try and do a solo with this one song on Sacrifice. In the end, he just fucking slammed the guitar down and legged it, took the guitar with him. And that was basically it.
I remember when it happened, it was both panic and satisfaction at the same time, because Versa was also very tired of this, and we were very tired of him. It was a mutual thing. I miss him tremendously as a guy, but not as a guitar player. In the end, he was no good in the end. It was just the bottom line. And he didn't like it. He didn't play good because he didn't feel good.
Some copies of Sacrifice have got the 3 of us on there, and some have got 4. Don't know if anyone's got, probably you fans out there, you've probably got a copy of both. And you probably know all this anyway, but I'm going to tell the camera for those uninitiated, I'm sorry. I've been drinking since 1973, so you have to excuse me.
And then, of course, here we are as a 3-piece with, Phil, and I go, oh my God, Phil's gonna do this on his own. I remember me and Lem talking to Phil and said, what's up? Are you gonna be able to, carry this? And he said, this is fine, don't worry about it. And I said to Lem, don't worry about it. Is he fucking kidding?
I was confident that we could carry it out as a 3-piece, and I said to Lem and Mick, I said, look, let's rehearse, let's try it as a 3-piece. I said, and if if it's not working, I said, believe me, I'll be the first one to say we need to get someone else in.
We had a German tour coming up, so we said, all right, we'll give you the German tour, see how it goes, And the first night, this thing flashed past me during the first song, and it was fucking Phil Campbell. I'd never seen him move more than 2 feet on stage before. Doing all these gyrations and shit, and there he was, he did very well.
He proved us so wrong, first show, He was running around, from being the more musician standing on his same place playing, Versa was the the headbanger, you know, the wild one. He come flying up to me all the time on the drum riser, and you know, and Phil was always more concentrated and playing the right stuff, carrying the band musically, if you will, out of these two guys. And now suddenly he's running around being completely nuts on stage, and played so good, and he has just grown into that role more and more every year, you know.
The best joke for 2004 was two cannibals eating a clown, and one says, "Does this taste funny to you?" It was a great album. I liked Overnight a lot. I was very pleased with that. Snakebite Love was had two turkeys on it, you know, the last two tracks, but we were as usual working under the fucking clock, you know.
Did you feel that?
And I've got people coming up to me saying there's two favourite tracks, you know, so what the fuck?
Oh yeah.
Don the gay bus driver.
Oh, that faggot.
Oh, Philip, oh, Philip.
Oh, my machine.
He was drunk, you know. He got drunk, this gay bus driver, and he was after his ass. And he said, "Philip, Phil."
That's right, I remember
He
it.
tried to get in his
I'd
bunk
forgot-
with him and he gave him a kick.
I'd forgotten all about him, yeah, I remember.
Yeah.
We got rid of
Was
him.
it Don? Yeah, Don.
What is it with this microphone and me? I mean,
You're just not photogenic, I suppose. I think We Are Motorhead was a much better album than it got credit for. Hammered, I kind of ambivalent about it. It's up and down. Hammered, there's some good tracks on it and there's some crap on it, you know. But Inferno was very good. I'm very pleased with that.
It's not a religion, it's like promoting fun. Or we don't harm anyone, you know. If somebody comes up to me and says, "I fucking hate your guys' music, but you seem like really nice guys, I don't know nothing about your music," whatever, I welcome that, I'll shake their hand, you know. It's better than somebody coming up and bullshitting, because we don't care. As long as there's two types of people, nice people and people who fuck you over, like. And we go around the world playing our stuff, and we enjoy it, and lots of other people enjoy it, and there's no reason to stop, really.
Not till when we're long gone and people are gonna try to copy our music. I mean, really copy our stuff. When they do, they realize how hard it is. But we're not gonna come across like Rush or King Diamond or they just don't get it right away. You have to live this band, and then you realize how hard it is. This is the hardest thing I ever done in my life. And like for Lem is not a typical, you know, Geddy Lee and Rush is Geddy Lee and Rush. You know, you don't think Lem is a bass player, but he really is a bass player. He's a tremendous bass player. He goes out there and rocks fucking harder than anyone ever played with. And he's just, he blow me away in so many other ways, you know, than just a technical bass player with his fucking bass shoved up under his, you know, chin. That's not all. That's just a little bit to be a complete musician and a bandmate, you know. There's so much more. Lemmy's tremendous and Philly's incredible, and I'm pretty fucking good too.